King Solomon tells us wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom. As we seek this wisdom, let us turn to the Church Fathers and say, Abba, give me a word that I may live.
In the 3rd century, Saint Cyprian of Carthage was an honored bishop of the city of Carthage in North Africa. In his 7th treatise entitled On the Mortality, Saint Cyprian guides his flock in the midst of a pestilent disease that, as Saint Eusebius says, took possession of many provinces of the whole world, and especially Alexandria and Egypt. And so, in part 16 of Saint Cyprian's treatise, he highlights 10 ways that the pestilence that plagued his people could help them search themselves. In the difficult circumstances of this coronavirus pandemic, we can also use Saint Cyprian's words to help us search ourselves. He says, Beloved brethren, what is it? What a great thing is it? How pertinent, how necessary, that pestilence and plague, which seems horrible and deadly, searches out the righteousness of each one, and examines the minds of the human race, to see, 1. Whether they who are in health tend the sick. 2. Whether relations affectionately love their family. 3. Whether masters pity their weakened servants. 4. Whether physicians do not forsake the beseeching patients. 5. Whether the fierce suppress their violence. 6. Whether the greedy can quench the ever insatiable desire of their raging avarice, even by the fear of death. 7. Whether the arrogant bend their neck. 8. Whether the wicked soften their boldness. 9. Whether, when their dear ones perish, the rich even then bestow anything and give, when they are to die without heirs. 10. Even if this mortality conferred nothing else, it has done this benefit to Christians and to God's servants, that we begin gladly to desire martyrdom, as we learn not to fear death. These are trainings for us, not deaths. They give the mind the glory of fortitude. By contempt of death, they prepare for the crown. Saint Cyprian here reminds us, regardless of our age and of our stage of life, the events we are facing in the world today have changed the way we live, and therefore they remind us of our departure from this world, that there is no true stability in the circumstances of this life, but only in eternal life. He boldly begs the question at the end, do we fear death? Are we attached too much to this world that in times of difficulty we retreat from our Christianity? Or, as Saint Cyprian puts it, do we examine our ways and learn not to fear death? Are we ready, as he says, to live as martyrs? Are we ready to be trained by the difficult circumstances we're in that are beyond our control? For the great majority, this doesn't necessarily mean martyrdom as physical death, but rather as martyria. And the word means witnesses, to be witnesses for Christ in this life. Living as Christ each day, with our families, with our friends and loved ones, in our responsibilities, the professions that we have, our studies, our services, that we can become witnesses to Christ, that people can witness Christ in us. Even now, while most of us are staying confined to our homes, we still have interactions with others, and still have at least the responsibility of how we spend our time. We're being asked by Saint Cyprian today, are we witnessing to Christ by our lives? So let us take this opportunity to know our true selves better, to have God reveal to us ourselves through these difficult circumstances that we're all facing, and let us not flee from facing ourselves. Rather, let us review the 10 benefits Saint Cyprian has given us, and pray from Psalm 139 with King David, O Lord, you have searched me and known me. You know my sitting down and my rising up. You understand my thought afar off. You comprehend my path and my lying down, and are acquainted with all my ways. For there is not a word on my tongue, but behold, O Lord, you know it altogether. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my anxieties, and see if there is any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting.